Oh my goodness. You are such an inspiration. Wow, you really are. You're so strong. Can I pet your service dog? Ugh. 1, 2, 3, let's go! We are artists, parents, teachers, good guys, bad guys, students, leaders. I'm not your inspiration, yeah, I'm fully who I am. Got my own expectations that don't fit into your plans. I'm not your sad story, so I wrote it in this song. Everything you know about disability is wrong. Yeah, everything you know. Yeah, everything you know about disability is wrong.
Hey listeners, welcome to another episode of Everything You Know About Disability is Wrong.
Today on the show, we have Austin Halls.
Hello,
Austin-
everyone.
Hi Austin, thanks for being on our show. Austin is a pop star, model, and disability activist who has built a career at the intersection of music, fashion, and advocacy.
Austin challenges stereotypes and expands visibility, and he leverages his platform to promote disability inclusion across creative industries.
Through performance, public presence, and campaigns, Austin transforms personal experience into cultural impact, making space for authentic representation of disabled talent in mainstream media.
Yes, so excited to have you.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Can you just follow me around and just tell everyone that when I walk into a room? I'm like, who is that? Is that me? Oh my gosh.
When we were like typing up bios and things, I was like, I just want to start with, that meme that's like, she's an icon, a legend, like that's how I
She is
feel.
the moment. Come on
She
now.
is the moment. That's how I feel, listeners. Austin is an icon. He is the moment. So this is going to be a really fun episode. Before we get into the whole meat of the episode, let's do our audio descriptions. I can start. This is Lily speaking. I am a mixed race white passing woman with big green eyes and half blonde, half brown hair. I am in my office, which is decorated like the teenage girl bedroom of my dreams. You'll see a little bit of a Jonas Brothers poster behind me. And I'm wearing my usual necklace, which is a pendant of the Hindu goddess Lakshmi. And stating that this time because I think this episode is going to come out around Diwali. So, and I'll fidget with it throughout the entire episode as I usually do. Take it away, Erin.
Hi, this is Erin speaking. I'm a white woman with red hair and blue eyes, and I'm wearing a black and white striped t-shirt or shirt, and I'm sitting in my chair in my bedroom.
And hello, this is Austin speaking. I'm a white male with reddish brown hair and a blurred background because you can't see my messy studio apartment, thank God. And I'm wearing a blue and white striped sweater that says Dallas because everyone, when they say Austin, they're like, oh my gosh, Austin, Texas. So I literally bought that to help them out.
I love that. That's incredible. Well, we're so excited to have you today. Erin and I just recently had a team meeting in person and we made our whole team listen to your song Disabled and we jammed to it. So we'll talk about that for sure. But this is a geek out moment for me specifically. I'm sure Erin too. Like we're so excited.
Yes, I love
I-
that song.
I mean, literally, it's so crazy because, when you have those 2 a.m. thoughts, and you're just like, wouldn't this be so, to me, it was crazy, funny, I really didn't know the impact that it would have. It was just I was making music, I was finding beats with my producer, and I was like, I love this beat so much. And I was just really leaning into coming to terms with the identity of disability, disabled. We can talk about that for hours. That is a really, really, intricate conversation. And, if you don't know, I was born with my face completely paralyzed. It was called Möbius syndrome, and it's a really rare syndrome. Having a disability on your face is such a complex thing, which I'm sure we'll get into later as well. So the past 5 years, I've been just learning to accept the word disabled and really, be in community. And the past couple years, I've been in a lot of events and just community bonding and building. And I didn't realize how much I needed the disability community in my life and how much unconditional love there is in the community. So I was like just talking about like being disabled is like so fun and beautiful and like powerful. And these are conversations that we've never had in, a lot of media. And I was like, what if I took this like club dance beat and just like rewrote the identity of disability through song, as I never heard it and I still have not heard it. And so I think I'm like one of the first people to write a dance pop hit being like, yeah, I'm disabled, and so what? I'm hot, I'm sexy, and I'm powerful, and it's a crazy thing.
Yes. Listeners, we're talking about Austin's song Disabled, which is incredible. And it is, yeah, it's exactly as Austin just described. It's such a fun song. Like, whenever I'm feeling down, I like hype myself up. I'm like, disability, show me what you see. I'm like, I'm in it. Like, I love it so much. So like, um, yeah, I will link the song below because I want everyone who listens to this episode to save the song and to jam to it after they finish this episode because it's so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally
Okay,
love that song. I have
it's
it
so
like
good.
sometimes in the middle of the day and just like it'll randomly get stuck in my head and it's amazing.
It's
It
really
like is that empowering. Like it really is.
it's my favorite thing, like, having non-disabled people listen to it, and then they're like, "I just been, like, saying disability, tell me what do you see?" And it's just, like it's just a fun way, because you hope to, you know I don't need to educate disabled people on what it's like having a disability, like, so it's so cool to, like, break the fourth wall and to, like, get to the non-disabled side and be like, "Here's a song about being disabled," and also talk about like just disability culture and media that we've seen. Everything that we see is inspiration for disabled people, and it's like, what was me, and all the things that I saw was just so sad, and like, pity me, look at me, and I'm like, this is not the life that we have to live. We don't have to choose to be this. Like, my life is this way, so it's just so cool to. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this as well, like social media and advocacy, as it's like we only see disabilities and facial differences and so many other disabilities in one way. Why don't we show it in a positive, fun, empowering way? And it's so cool to see people who are non disabled be like, whoa, I never even thought this was a possible thing. And yeah, I feel very blessed and so very grateful.
Yeah, I mean, because that's like the power of music, right? Is sometimes a song when it's so catchy, you don't even necessarily know what the experience the person is singing about is, but the music is what kind of moves through you. One of our in like season 1 of this show, we had Lachi on the show, and she was one of the first musicians we had on, and she was talking about how like, there's lots of other cultures. She was just, of course, talking from the perspective of a Black woman. So she was saying like, you know, as a community, we have used music to talk about so many different cultural identities, but we haven't really done that with disability. And I think it is because of that like undertone of negativity that people still have around disability. So, which makes it even more important for you to be doing a song like this, especially dance pop.
Thank you.
Yeah, I it is a bop. It's so good. Um,
For
I need to ask you a question. So our podcast is called "Everything You Know About Disability Is Wrong," and what do people get wrong about you?
So I feel like the biggest misconception about facial differences is that the only thing that we see in the media is evil villains, and that has
Mm.
been a really strong theme in my life. Representation was not there until a couple of years ago for me, and when I was growing up, I was watching, The Lion King, and the evil villain, his name was Scar, and he had a scar on his face, and like Scarface and just so many like horror movies they represented people like me with facial differences as evil and bad. And growing up, I was like, I don't feel evil. And if I am, maybe in the best way, but like, I don't feel evil. I don't feel bad. And I already have this kind of stigma already against me. So, it's just so interesting trying to rewrite the narrative that has already been painted upon you. And, even with, having a speech difference, having your face be paralyzed, like there's a lot of cues that people miss. I can't smile. I couldn't smile for the first 17 years of my life. I had to have 4 surgeries just to be able to smile. So I feel like people don't get that there could be differences in this world. And so people automatically assume that I'm unintelligent, I'm incapable, I'm not worthy. So just trying to paint facial differences as a positive thing. And, beauty is face value. What we see on the face is really, really like the first impression of someone. And it is really, really challenging to go into a world where, you have to look a certain type of way. I can't hide my disability, So it's been very, very challenging. So just trying to repaint that narrative of what people think of when they see a facial difference or a disability on their face. That has been kind of like a lot of misconceptions, and it's an everyday battle.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Like, 'cause when you enter a room, there's automatically a judgment on you and your life, and it's often the wrong judgment. Um, and that is hard to get used to. But a friend of mine did say, like, when you're disabled and it's really obvious, you do command the room. You get that attention right away, and then you can use that to your advantage. So I learned that from her, and I thought it was a really interesting way to think about it.
And it's all about perspective as well. And that is like, I actually was not trying to be an advocate. I wanted to be a therapist. I graduated with a degree in psychology, and I was going to get my master's. It was during the pandemic. Life was crazy, and the universe was kind of shifting me towards advocacy. But like, I would never ever take my psychology degree and change it for anything else, because the knowledge that I have learned for myself has been just like life changing. And like you said, it's like you literally command the stage whether you like it or not. And there are days that you wake up and you're like, I just want to get my matcha latte from, whatever store, and I don't want to think about what's wrong with me. I don't want to ask, I don't want people to ask me questions, but it really is like we are undeniable, we are incomparable, and there really is no one like us doing what we're doing. So it really is such a positive thing. I know people that will see me for the first time and they'll remember my face. So like we are very like unforgettable, and I think that's what a lot of people try to strive for, to be different and quirky and unique, and we have that. We don't even have to try to do that. So I think you're right. It is really cool.
It is, although sometimes it can be awkward because I live in a small town and I grew up with the same people my whole life, and I'll be out shopping downtown or something, and people will come up to me, "Oh, I remember you. I was your teacher in kindergarten." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know you," but that happens all the time. But still, it's just like, yeah, you do command that attention, and like you said, it can be annoying sometimes, a lot of times. But yeah,
Yeah, it's just a lot of pressure for you both to like have that added external feeling every time you're gonna leave this space. I wanna go back to you mentioning horror films, um, because I think that like, you're touching on the deeper level than just, we hear, like, representation is so important all the time, but I think that phrase, uh, needs, like, the backing of what you just said because people don't understand, like, how important that kind of representation is, because when we're talking about the fact that like facial and body differences get used to equate like evil or villainy, like that is a cultural feeling, whether we wanted it to be or not. When that happens over and over again, like the result of that is, then you have children who like naturally feel scared when they see disability. I want to be clear that like that doesn't happen on its own. Like because humans in no matter what, like we all look different. We all feel like we're not a certain looking way as humans. Kids don't learn that like different should be scary, or aren't born feeling that different is scary. They learn that. And even if kids aren't watching horror films, it permeates. That cultural idea goes into the rest of the world, and it'll be like in a children's cartoon, there will be like a joke that gets made or something. So I just want to reiterate that like this representation thing is more than just like, oh, I want to see myself. It's we want to write our own narratives actually, because the narrative is taken when you just equate something about disability as one thing.
And I kind of learned this in multicultural psychology as well. Like, our brains are kind of like a computer hard drive. We love to folder things and have things kind of labeled and compartmentalized. And when we see something that is not kind of fitting in those folders, it's very uncomfortable. And, subconscious kind of bias is so real. And I learned a lot through my background with that, like knowing that like you literally what you said, like you literally can have something that you don't know and you kind of get a fear for it. You are afraid of it. And the more that you educate on it, the more you knowledge yourself, the more you expose yourself, exposure therapy. It's funny that we talk about exposure therapy with disabled people because we're talking about like this. Oh my God, disabled people are so crazy, but that's really what non-disabled people kind of feel when they talk to us. It's that unknown of like we've never had any education, especially talking about anyone with a visible difference. Every day I go out and I get stared at. There's no like I go to the grocery store, I know that at least 30 people will look at me, and this is where the perspective comes in. Is it because I'm wearing couture and like amazing outfits? Or is it because, like my face is different? And we still have not had any conversations like that are widespread of like, hey, here is how you talk to a disabled person. This is how you talk to a disabled person. This is how you say, hey, can I ask like what happened to you? Even though, there's so many, I don't even like what happened to you because it's just what's wrong with you. Those are so many like negative kind of twisting things. So I do believe that like we need to just showcase disabled people in crimes, doing what they love, being successful. And that was like really my goal for social media as well. Is like I have never seen anyone with a facial difference, with a visible difference that was really being successful and being successful for being talented and not being idolized just because they're disabled. Because there's so many things of like, oh, they went to college, inspiration porn. They went to college and they're in a wheelchair. Okay, cool. How does that affect anything? It literally doesn't make sense. So I just want to be infiltrating and Lachi and so many other musicians with disabilities. Shout out to Ramped because they're amazing. But like we just need to be in our primes and we need to be at the table. And it feels very good to be opening the doors for so many other people so that we don't have to fight so hard to be, seen at the table.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting that you wanted, like, before you got into advocacy and making music, you were on this track to becoming a therapist, because I think musicians are a form of like mental health worker. Like I really, really do. Because for me, like I literally just this morning woke up kind of on the wrong side of the bed and took myself outside for a little while. And while I was outside, I texted my fiance and I was like, can you turn on some music? It'll help my nervous system when I get in the apartment. Like music can be so regulating, but also so empowering. So I love that, you kind of shifted from like a micro level of one-on-one therapy to this like macro level of releasing a song like Disabled that can be someone's therapy, can be someone's church to dance to a beautiful song that makes you feel like empowered and good. I think like it makes complete sense to me how your path went where it did. How did you find music specifically?
I always have been obsessed with music, and like nonverbal communication is like about, I think it's about 60% of how we communicate. So, being born with your face completely paralyzed, I had to learn very quickly other ways to express myself. And I was always into music. I have a VHS tape of me singing karaoke at like 3 years old with my mom and my family. And I learned that, like, through music, it was undeniable what the emotion was in the song. So I knew that, like, I didn't know songwriting was gonna be in my journey, but I just knew it was always gonna be an outlet for me. And like, even with like this whole month and the transitions between summer and fall, like, I just heavily relied on music for my coping mechanisms. And then I was actually introduced to a family with a baby with the same syndrome that I have. They saw my covers that I was posting on YouTube and Facebook and all over, and they were like, "He needs to get into the studio." So it's so crazy as they actually knew Gavin DeGraw's producer, and he heard all about my story. He was like, they lived in Nashville, so I'm in New York, so New Jersey, and they were like, "Austin doesn't have to pay a dime. He's such a cool teen. He has a great story. Like, he just is like in it for the music. So like, just as long as he can get to Nashville, Tennessee, then we can make him, have a week in the studio." So at 15 years old, they're like, "Write a song, write as many songs as you can, and come to Nashville, Tennessee." And at that time, I started my advocacy, on social media. I was trying to get on, TV shows, and it was kind of the awakening of like, I met people with my syndrome at 14 for the first time. A lot of people were bullied and like kind of bullied into silence. I realized that I had a lot more confidence than I thought I had, and so I said, I have to write inspirational music, as everyone does in the disability. Like, we just get pinned to this inspiration, and we're like, we have to write it. So I wrote this awful, terrible song called Take a Stand. It is so cheesy, but that got me into like songwriting and like being able to kind of emulate what I'm thinking in my brain and how I'm feeling and put it into a song. And so started writing at 15. I had 2 albums before this new upcoming album, and the second album was, like, kinda getting into music that I really loved. Like, I love pop. I'm always gonna be a pop person, and I think the second album was, like, a shift of, like, I'm gonna make music that sells, but also stuff that I listen to and I enjoy. And I kind of leaned into what you were saying of like, music is so powerful. Music makes you, it shifts your perspective, it shifts your like mood and your everything. And the past kind of 2 years, 3 years have been me showing how much of a boss I am and how many doors I can open. And I wanted to do that with dance kind of pop music. I wanted people to kind of dance through the pain, dance through the trauma. And I'm a sad boy at heart. Like, I love my Adele, I love my Amy Winehouse, but I was like, I want to make people feel the way that I'm trying to emulate through my social media and leading by example. So this new album, it's coming out hopefully next year. It's called Disability, which is spelling the T on disability joy. And I just want people to put it on, dance for like 45 minutes, and forget about life. And I don't know how people can, like, it's crazy when you like make something that you love and you just put it out for yourself, and it's like literally so beautiful seeing people like turn on your music and like text you and be like, "Hey, I was just shaking my butt to Disabled," and like that, to me, that is like the ultimate win, like seriously.
It is the ultimate win because like yeah, this idea of like that we're gonna only listen to like sad songs or inspirational, like please care about us song is so ridiculous. And like, I love that you brought up, I think you said it earlier, that like you can feel sexy listening to your music. And like, even that in itself is such important advocacy because people, when they hear the word disability, like they don't picture us shaking our ass at the club, but guess what? We can do that. Like, and it's fun. And like, I think that that is just so, so, so important because joy is super important. Um, Also, I love that you mentioned self-expression, and like how you had to find music because it was difficult for you to express yourself without use of your face. I think that self-expression is like incredibly important to disabled people specifically. Um, I would love to hear your thoughts on that and like what self-expression means to you and why you think it's important for our community.
I just think that we are like, you know, being in so many different minorities, being queer and disabled, and there's like, a lot. She talks about being a black woman with a disability, like, especially just being a woman in general. Like, I feel like we have so much pinned against us when you walk into the door. And I actually wanted to make a video today about like compensation with the disability community and how we kind of are forced to, not force, but feel that pressure to compensate in so many different ways. And I felt that with fashion. And, I love fashion and it's opened so many doors for me. You know, near Fashion Week and stuff like that. I just feel like it was my way to walk into the space and not have my face be the center of attention, and also too there's so many stigmas on my facial difference that I was like, I'm gonna dress so goddamn good that you literally can't even undermine how amazing and powerful I am. So like, I know fashion is really, really, really a way that disabled people are able to express themselves, which let me state that disabled people can be beautiful and sexy and wear amazing clothes. Like, I don't know why adaptive clothing is, one way, one size fits all. And I'm happy that we're getting out of it. But just a little clock that adaptive fashion can be beautiful and sexy. So, I really think that we tattoos as well, like hair color, like I feel like there's so many ways that I've learned that like, you know, there's gonna be people that just think of you differently. So and they're gonna stare, so why not give them something to look at?
I love that so much. Yeah, speaking of fashion, I met you in person in New York City during the Runway of Dreams event. Can you tell us about that?
Oh my gosh. Well, Runway of Dreams have changed my life in so many different ways. And I never thought, like, I never was like, you know what, like, maybe modeling is gonna be something that I picked up. Like, hell no. Like, I was always just like, I'm gonna do fashion. I'm gonna post my fits on social media because I love dressing up. I love it. Like, it heals my soul. And the fact that it could, like, impact other people is just, like, a benefit on top of that. But, yeah, Mindy is just, she's literally like, she's mother. She's literally mother and I met her, I think 2 years ago now. Um, I walked in her fashion show at Victoria's Secret headquarters with Dateability, and that was my first time ever walking in a catwalk, and it was at Victoria's Secret headquarters, which is literally crazy. And then
Slay.
I met her. I was just obsessed with Runway of Dreams, and I never even like saw disabled people on the runway until then, and it really opened my eyes of like, oh my gosh, like fashion is really something that I love, 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 and I would love to model more and campaign more and be just seen. So that was 2 years ago. And then they booked me for New York Fashion Week last year, which is literally like the fact that I'm the first person with my syndrome to walk in New York Fashion Week, like drop the mic, like literally crazy. Um opening doors. I just feel so freaking blessed, and I'm happy that we can have people like Nikki Lily. I got a shout out. Nikki Lily has a facial difference as well. She's killing it in UK. Adam Pearson, like we're finally seeing representation that I never saw growing up. So dinner at Fashion Week was I opened the show, which was literally like gaggy, and then yeah, the second year at New York Fashion Week back with Runway of Dreams, and I was on a panel talking about consumerism and having a disability, and like the struggles of there was a lot of different people with disabilities that had mobility issues. It was like a really cool like, hey, I have adaptability issues with these clothes. Like, how would we fix this? Hey, I have a facial difference. So, and that's the weird kind of part. We could talk about this for hours of like, I have people in the disability community tell me like you are actually not disabled. Like you have no mobility issues, even though my face is literally paralyzed. And even reclaiming the identity of disability on social media, like I feel like there's a lot of people that invalidate having a facial difference. So it's really cool to be seen and heard and talk about, like fashion and just kind of self-expression in that way. So love Runway of Dreams, love Mindy,
Yes.
and I hope my goal this year and next year is to campaign for like I don't know, Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, like some prestigious male brand to say that people deserve to be seen and we deserve to be seen, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was like thinking, when you said that there's people in the disability community that say you're not disabled is wild to me. And there's a lot of, not a lot, there is like lateral ableism where just like the ableism that everyone has, they all have it. You can't deny it. It's just
Uh-huh.
how you learn and teach yourself and grow and all of that. But like ableism is so like horrible that it makes disabled people ableist too. And that's just like not it.
I think
Absolutely.
it also comes with like the success as well. Like it's like people see me on social media being successful and opening doors and they only see and that's like the toxicity of social media is like I really strive to kind of emulate as who I am on social media. I don't like I've met so many people, especially in the community that are so vibrant on social media, and when you meet them they're very shy, which is totally fine, but I don't ever want to emulate a person that I'm not. And
Mhm.
I think that people only see the happy, successful, powerful side of me, and you don't really get to see like the day to day struggle. And like literally, it's just like crazy that people can just invalidate that like because you're successful or because you're powerful doesn't mean that your disability doesn't stop you, and it's insane.
This is my belief. I think I mentioned it in the last episode, that like you have to suffer to be considered disabled, which is ableism. So disability does not equal suffering, usually.
This podcast is brought to you by Easter Seals. Easter Seals empowers people to live independent, full lives, and we've been doing it for over 100 years. We're in communities nationwide, providing support at every age and stage of life. Whether you need employment services, mental health support, or want to find a welcoming community, we've got you covered. Visit easterseals.com to learn more.
Correct. And it's also like a deep misunderstanding of the human experience, because like we all suffer. Like we all suffer, we all feel joy, we all like there's no like end where you reach a point of like I'm never going to feel suffering again. So to like invalidate the disabled experience you have because it looks fun is just like invalidating your whole humanity because like having a whole humanity means feeling the ups and downs of life. So I think it's so wild, but also kind of shows like that you're doing the thing, right? Because you're not going to do the thing without getting negative comments like that. But it's, I think that the lateral ableism in our community, like, I hypothesize that a lot of it also stems from a lack of resources and the fact that, like, resources for disabled people are still so hard to come by for multiple different disabilities. So there is kind of like a scarcity mindset of like, well, you're not disabled, like you can't be as disabled as I am because I need these services and I can't even get them. But like that's not our community's problem. And like we should not infight about that because the fact is that like all of us should have access to the services we need. And also, like, frankly, the more people that identify as disabled, the better for our community. Like, it's not actually, there is no world where someone else's disability status takes away from mine at all. So, us all using the word is actually quite important. And, like, I hope that there are people out there who, some days wake up with back and knee pain that can jam out to Austin's songs and realize that, like, what they're experiencing, whether temporary or permanent, is disability. Like, and disability is such a natural, normal part of the human experience. It's actually like wild that there isn't that much fashion, music, movies about it because it's to be disabled is to be human.
Like, why are we literally the biggest minority? And like, literally 25% of the people are disabled or will become disabled. And we're like so hush hush about it. And, I've talked about this with a lot of my, friends who are disabled. I don't think we've had that movement yet, like, we have not had this like big push in the mainstream media saying, like, hey, y'all, like, it's okay to be disabled. It's okay to be different. And I think we're slowly getting there. I think we're taking a few leaps back right now, but
Hmm.
I'm very excited for, in a couple of years where like people with differences are more celebrated than right now. But that's why we kind of push and I will never discredit people for not knowing about like a facial difference or a disability on their face. Like my syndrome, Möbius syndrome is like 2 people out of a million. Those are the chances of being me. But no, those are like the chances of being disabled, like and having a facial difference. And like I will never discredit someone for not knowing that because if I didn't have the syndrome, I probably wouldn't have known as well. But the way that we go about that, it just needs to change. And it's so easy to see people from the outside and think that like, yeah, that person has it all because they're successful, but like it really takes, and I think just having I've been thinking about this a lot. Just having a visible difference takes so much strength, and also invisible as well. There's so many different battles with either, but like being visibly different takes a lot of courage to wake up every day, be seen by your coworkers. Every place that you go, that's a new place. Like it's a lot of courage to, one, build up the confidence for yourself, build up the self-esteem, and then build up the worth and the self-esteem to go into public and say, here I am, here I am for what I give you, but here I am for how I look, and trying to just like hold that power. I think it's a lot of energy, and it is cool. Like I feel very grateful that like I feel like I'm very much in my own lane, and I feel very blessed that I don't really feel like, as a lot of people compare themselves to so many other people. Like, I don't really feel like there's been someone in that path. So it is really cool to carve out that way your own way. So there doesn't really feel like there's anyone that I'm competing with or trying to be, which is really powerful. But yeah, just carving the way for other people and just like having like at the Grammys, when I went to the Grammys, there was not a lot of disabled people, and you feel so like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy that I'm one of 30, 40 with a visible difference here. So it just feels very affirming that I can, make other people feel seen and heard, and just like I don't want anyone to go through the stuff that I went through, and I think that is kind of why we're doing this, you know?
Absolutely. And you bring up the 1 in 4, the 25% of Americans have a disability. And I mean, and again, that's not even including the like thousands of people who wear glasses, who have daily knee pain, like all like that number is small and it's still huge. And I think that that is so important. And that's, at Easter Seals right now, we're running this campaign called Know the Facts. That's all about really trying to get people to understand that. Like when we're talking about disability, we're not talking about some like fringe off group that's like a little tiny group of people. We're talking about 70 million people. And like, even from a like business perspective, or I think like in the music industry, like why wouldn't you need someone making music? If there's 70 million people out there that would want to listen to it and relate to it, like that's a huge audience. And same thing, you brought up the like adaptable fashion. I'm so like glad that Runway of Dreams and Mindy are doing what they're doing, and like all the other people that are making cool adaptive wear that's not just like gray with ugly buttons. There's, there I think it's really important to understand that like the breadth and scope of disability is massive, and there should be no industry where we're not thinking about disability and where we're not like considering that consumer base. Um but yeah, you brought up going to the Grammys, and obviously, yeah, that's a wild experience to be so highly visible. Um but, like, otherwise, what was that experience like? What was it like when you found out you were going to go to the Grammys?
Oh my god. I just like that's why I'm like, girl, I feel so freaking blessed. And every time I'm an Aries, so I have to say, I'm always trying to like not one up, but like just be better every single day. I have no end goal because I'm always just like tunnel vision. And every time I feel like, am I doing enough? Am I working hard? Like I remember, oh my gosh, I went to the Grammys and everything is okay. That's like my like, all right, girl, you're good. You don't have to worry about nothing. But yeah, I have to do a huge shout out to Ramped because I being a disabled musician, I was like, holy cow, this is so intimidating. This is so scary. I never had anyone to kind of talk to about being disabled, and like having your face be paralyzed and also being a singer is like so crazy. Like I feel like my people told me that I wouldn't be able to talk, and to be singing and to be making music is just like so crazy. So I met Lachi about 2 3 years ago, and Lachi has just opened so many doors for disabled musicians, and also she's a governor for the Grammys, so she's been able to kind of like really infiltrate the music industry. So she's been like my mentor and just helping me kind of be in these spaces and be seen, and it feels very validating, as she's also an Aries as well. So an Aries seeing another Aries work hard for, being hungry and, working hard for what you want. Like she really opened those doors. And I was in the mentorship Grammy U, which is like a mentorship for the Grammys. And I went with Ramped. They got me a ticket and I was like, oh my God. So now I'm in the New City chapter for the Recording Academy, and to be able to buy tickets now to go to the Grammys, like every year, I literally have a seat at the freaking Grammys with my name on it. Like it is just so surreal. And I'm doing dreams that I actually did not dream of this. Like I was like, it would be nice to be there, but like it was never in my depth of field. And I just feel so, so blessed. And it just is crazy. We're taking over.
Yes, listeners, if you're wondering, we're referencing Ramped a lot. Ramped is recording artists and music professionals with disabilities. It's an incredible organization. If you're like, oh, I'm really interested in this, you should go back and listen to our episode with Lachi. We get into it. But multiple stories today, I think, have really shown the like power of our community and like our allies as well in like lifting each other up and pulling each other forward, and that realization, like the family that got you to Nashville because they had a child and they realized how important that representation was going to be, or Lachi going through her experience, or even you saying like, I don't want people to go through the hard parts that I went through. I think that that is like one of the most powerful things about our community is um I don't really, in my experience, run into that many disabled people who are like, well, I went through it, so everyone else should have to. It's almost always the opposite. Is like, I went through this. I never want any kid, young adult to have to experience that. I want to make it better. And I think that's just because we are like forced to be innovators, like to make an inaccessible world work for us. So with that in mind, like we're gonna innovate ways for our community to grow and to take over. Like, Lachi did the thing she needed to do to get, that number, like 30 to 40 people with disabilities. It obviously for us as people in the community, we know that's a very small number. But I think if we look back a few years ago, that number is probably zero or like one. Like, and it's very important. So I think that this episode is just like a testament to our community lifting each other up and the importance of like if you know a disabled person and you have a way to help them achieve their dreams, do it. Like the favor will be returned, I promise. Like, and I just think that that's a really powerful story. And of course, your name's on a seat at the Grammys, and it was inevitable. Like, that had to happen.
It's all about perspective too. Like it really is like and talking about this as well. Like I really, yeah, of course, disabled people are not trying to make other people suffer because we've had to learn that empath. We've had to learn the empathy. We've had to learn the emotional intelligence. Like we had to grow up. I know I had to grow up so much faster than maybe some other non-disabled people that I know. So like I know that like I would never take away any of the experiences that I had because I am 27 and I feel like I'm like this wise 80-year-old man who like literally is everyone's like therapist and caretaker, and it feels so good having empathy for someone else, like to know, to be able to feel something and to put myself in someone else's shoes is a trait that people don't really have anymore. And in the kind of social media days where social interactions are very scarce, like I feel so blessed to have the emotional intelligence, to have the wisdom, and to have the kind of warmth to care about someone else. And I feel like being gay and being disabled, like you learn quickly what it's like to be an outsider, and you never want anyone to go through that. So I feel like it's like having that perspective of like, thank God I'm disabled. Like, thank God I have a disability because I wouldn't be half the person that I am. And, people ask, like, what would Austin be without a disability? Austin would be a tornado. Austin would literally just do whatever the hell Austin wanted with his Aries mind and just like, just be selfish, be very selfish. So I feel like it's like all about that perspective of like knowing your worth, knowing your power, and knowing that like everything happens for a reason. I know some people hate it. I love divine timing. Everything happens for a reason. And like you are the person because of the experiences that you have.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like it is important to note in this moment where like autism is being discussed in pretty horrific ways, and there's conversation about like getting rid of autism and things. And I've been asked that, like, who do you think you'd be if you weren't autistic? And my answer is always just like, oh, I wouldn't. Like, it's my brain. Like, that's who I am. Like, there is no, I can't even begin to think about the experience because to do so, I have to think, which uses my autistic brain, actually. So, like, I think that there is such a beautiful and necessary, like, worth in saying, like, thank goodness I'm here and thank goodness I'm me and this is like who I am. And I think that you touched on community a little bit. I think the biggest downside to being disabled in this world can be the isolating feeling. Like it can feel very isolating, especially if like you are the only person experience in like your grade school growing up or something like that. Or Aaron, you mentioned being from a small town, like that can feel isolating if you're one of the only people. But for me, the most empowering thing has been in adulthood to get to meet other cool disabled people. And like even some of my darkest memories, I've now met other disabled people who experience like the same kind of bullying or the same kind of inaccessibility or whatever it is. And now, like, instead of feeling sad about those memories, I feel like in community with people and togetherness. So you've mentioned a lot about all the people in the industry in fashion and music, but like as we're running out of time here, what is the power of community to you? And like what do you want to say to some maybe disabled listeners out there who haven't quite found their community yet?
I was actually, when I was growing up, I was so against and anti. I don't want to meet anyone with my syndrome. You know, my mom always knew about the foundation, the Möbius Syndrome Foundation. Growing up, I was like, no, I already know what I have. Why the hell would I meet other people that, knows what it's like to go through it? Like, I already know what it's like. And I feel like you go through that as, I feel like that is a pretty normal, common belief. Like, you know, I already know what I have. Why do I need to meet other people? Like I don't need to have that community. And then when you open the door, you change your mindset just a little bit. Like, okay, fine, let me like peek inside. Let me see what it's like. You literally realize that like it is like literally life changing. The reason that I got into advocacy was because I went to my first ever Möbius Syndrome conference. I was 14 years old in the midst of like, who am I? What kind of person am I? Just like literally crisis of identity. And I went to the first ever conference and I was like, oh my God, these people. I remember the first teen session that I went to. It was like all teenagers, probably like 15 teenagers with Möbius syndrome, the exact same syndrome that I have, put us in a room, was asking us questions, trying to get us to talk. No one talked. No one talked at all. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, if anyone was going to feel safe and seen and heard, it's exactly here. And this whole weekend, I realized that, like, a lot of people were so bullied so badly for being different that they were bullied into silence and they didn't even feel safe and seen in a room full of people with the same exact rare syndrome. So I learned that like, hey, actually I have a little bit more confidence than I have, and I need to change this narrative. I need to change the way that people feel. And every 2 years I go to the conference. Being in New York City is such a freaking blessing because there's so many disability events all over. And when you walk into a room full of disabled people, it is the most unconditional love that you ever have. Like I'm always worried about like, are people gonna understand me? Are people going to like think that I have resting bitch face because I have facial paralysis? Like are they gonna think I'm angry? And you don't even think about, and it's crazy because all these people have different disabilities, and you would think that like they wouldn't get you, but they just get you. They understand you. You don't have to explain yourself, and we go through so many similar struggles that it's just love. So if you are at home, you've never met a disabled person, it's actually psychologically proven. There's an amazing psychologist. Her name is Kathleen Bogart. She has Möbius syndrome as well, and she's done social studies on hanging out with non-disabled people versus disabled people. And even if you don't have the same disability, just interacting with them and hanging out with them and being in their presence makes you have a higher self-esteem and a higher just presence of self-love. So just reach out to someone and just like literally indulge yourself. Like literally community is just like so important. I would not be half the person that I am, and a lot of what I do is for other people so that they can see themselves in me. And I think the whole disabled umbrella term disabled is such a powerful kind of reclamation. And we talked about that. Like, I feel like there's no other umbrella term that kind of identifies disabled people. except for those awful handicapable and other terms like that. So crazy. Just say the word disabled. It's not that hard. It's not that hard, girl. But just literally reach out and just open yourselves up. And it just takes a lot of reframing in the cognition. But once you reframe your brain, tell yourself that you are so lovable, you are so deserving, and you are so beautiful, that is when the universe will open up and you will see and meet the people that you love in your life.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love that so much. And I think, sometimes um we get like nice comments about the podcast. And one of the recurring ones we get is people will say like, it's just such like warm conversations, or it feels so like kind and authentic and loving. And like, yeah, Erin and I obviously work hard to make this space like that, but I also do think that what people are feeling is the experience of three disabled people in the same room. And
Yeah.
how like that feels so like every episode we record of this show feels so good to get to just like commune with my community for a second. Like it's so good and it feels so good. So that's what people are feeling when they listen to the show. And like I don't know if I've ever named that before, but like the thing that you're feeling is the palpable joy that we're experiencing getting to be with our community. And like the three of us have totally different experiences of disability, but that like core love is there. And I know that like I would not be who I am without the disabled people in my life. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yes. Absolutely. And speaking of community, we gotta get together and get our matcha.
Girl, you say the word and I'm down. I made my homemade matcha, but nothing beats a store-bought matcha. So
I agree.
literally anytime. Also, literally just the vibes are so good. Erin, you are I love Erin is like when you meet her in person, I'm just like I don't know, like your energy is so powerful in person and like I feel like people don't get that as you're so just like I feel like you're demure on social media, but like you're sassy and energetic, and I love it. I'm excited to hang out.
Oh, thank you. I don't think people like. I think it's like the opposite. Is what I think people think of me. That
Me,
I'm sassy online and quiet in person. Maybe not.
really? No, I
No,
feel
you're
like witty. You're witty as hell. You're so witty.
yeah, your sass is palpable. I know it. I love it. I mean, we've only got a minute left of this recording, but I could talk about loving Erin. I mean, Erin is like my North Star of finding
Oh,
disabled community because like I met her and was like, wait, this is amazing. Being besties with someone who just gets me, like this is so good. And like yeah, especially for people who are like in workplaces, if you have other colleagues that are disabled and you haven't like connected, even just being like, man, being disabled's wild, right? Like that could start
yeah.
a conversation that could lead to a friendship that changes your life. And like my friendship with Erin has certainly changed my life. So
Well, I love you, Lily. You
I
know
love
it.
you. And Austin, we love you. Like we
Yeah.
love you. We love you.
I'm like, am I interrupting something? Damn.
Yeah, we're really besties. It's the truth of the show. But you're part of it, whether you want to be or not, because we love you. Yeah, this was so much fun. You should come on the show every week. And at some point you guys are gonna be in New Jersey hanging out, and I'm just gonna show up and you're gonna be like, how'd you get here? And I
Yes.
sensed it. I sensed you were together. I just wanted to be a part of it. And yeah, Austin, we look forward to your just meteoric rise to fame. I know it's like you're on it. It's a beautiful to watch. And I think like disability is like potentially song of the summer 2026. I think we make it happen. And you'll definitely be seeing Austin in more upcoming Easter Seals stuff. We love working with them, and it's just so wonderful to have like a such an icon representing our community. It's important, and thank you for coming on our show. Thank you for such an incredible conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. Y'all both are icons, and it's like a kiss the feet bow down moment, because y'all are icons, and what you do is so powerful. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you.
Well, you're welcome anytime, and thank you so much. And listeners, As always, thank you for tuning in, whether you watched it or listened to it or read the transcripts. We're happy to have you here, and we'll see you next time for another episode of Everything You Know About Disability is Wrong.
If you liked what you heard, go ahead and subscribe and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts.
Thank you to our listeners, and as always, thank you to Easter Seals for giving us the space and resources to share such authentic conversations from within the disability community to our listeners.
And we'll see you next time for another episode of Everything You Know About Disability is Wrong.
Everything you know about disability is wrong.
This is a podcast brought to you by Easter Seals.
You know, we actually work for Easter Seals, but maybe our listeners don't know what we do.
That's true. Easter Seals is leading the way to full access, equity, and inclusion for disabled people and their families.
And did you know we've been doing this for more than a century?
This includes helping disabled people find meaningful employment and addressing healthcare needs for all ages.
We're proud to serve communities across the country and ready for the next 100 years. For more, check out easterseals.com.